So the next person we have, there's another individual that's in this room that is fantastic. And the group that he works for is a group that I'm very familiar with, but I'm going to let him do the honors of introducing our next presenter. This gentleman is the executive director of the Harkin Institute for Public Policy and Citizen Engagement, a public policy think tank dedicated to advancing and preserving the legacy of retired U.S. Senator Tom Harkin. Please welcome to the stage, Joseph Jones.
Thank you so much. It's great to follow my dear friend, His Royal Highness Prince Murad. I know that he and several of our friends in Jordan are watching, so I want to say thank you for that very poignant and important message. I'm always really motivated after hearing him speak and very excited to see you again somewhere soon. And the same for our dear friends, Dr. Muhammad and Aliyah. As was said, my name is Joseph Jones. I'm the Executive Director of the Harkin Institute for Public Policy and Citizen Engagement. And we were established at a university called Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa, upon the announcement of the retirement of Senator Tom Harkin. And for those of you who don't know, Senator Tom Harkin is the principal sponsor of the Americans with Disabilities Act. So one of the 4 legacies that we are in charge of preserving and advancing is that of people with disabilities, along with wellness and nutrition, retirement security, and labor and employment. And so today, as I greet you, and my colleague Daniel will greet you after the Senator's message, I'd just like to focus a second on one of the programs that we have really tried to advance, which focuses on economic self-sufficiency. And Daniel's going to speak to this, but in 2016, we brought together for the first time a group of corporations, microenterprises, academics, governments, funders, and self-advocates from around the globe to benchmark where we as a global community stood in terms of employment for people with disabilities. And each year, setting a goal to increase that number, whether that be through corporate hiring or self-employment or customized employment, ways that we can help others with disabilities to find meaningful and not menial employment. But now, I'm going to introduce a video from my boss, both former and current, Senator Tom Harkin. As I told you, he represented the state of Iowa in the United States House of Representatives for 10 years, followed by 30 years in the United States Senate. And he has a message for all of us, as he could not be here today, but we'll watch his video, and then Daniel Van Zant will be here to visit with you as soon as that video is complete. Thank you.
Greetings to everyone at the World Expo 2021 in Dubai. I'm Senator Tom Harkin of the United States. I'm sorry I can't be with you there in person, but am delighted to be able to join with this video. First, I want to thank the U.S. Pavilion Commissioner, Bob Clark, for his tremendous support in providing this opportunity for me and for other persons who's advocating for persons with disabilities on this special day on the World Day for Persons with Disabilities, December the 3rd. I'm honored to be joined virtually with Congressman Tony Coelho, also of the United States, a lifelong advocate for persons with disabilities. In fact, was the first person to introduce in the United States Congress the Americans with Disabilities Act in 1988. He's a lifelong friend of mine and just one of the great advocates and supporters of disability rights for all. And lastly, I'm honored to be joining also with His Royal Highness, Prince Murad Al Hussein of Jordan, who we have met on other occasions. And Prince Murad has just been tremendous in his support for international disability rights, and especially for the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities adopted by the United Nations. And again, Prince Murad, I thank you for your tremendous leadership through these years. As you know, we passed the Americans with Disabilities Act in the U.S. In 1990. We've now had 31 years of it, and it has provided many changes in America, in buildings and transportation, accessibility. Many of the provisions of the Americans with Disabilities Act was adopted by the United Nations in the Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities, now adopted by nearly every nation in the world. The four goals of the Americans with Disabilities Act was full participation, equal opportunity, independent living, and economic self-sufficiency. Well, at least here in America and in places around the globe, we've made some pretty good progress in participation, opportunities, independent living. Now, again, we got ways to go in all of those. But the one place where we have not made much progress, either here in America or globally, is in employment for persons with disabilities in what I call competitive integrated employment. And what that means is a real job, a job that's not just make work or paid almost nothing, with a dead-end job without any hope of advancement or training. I'm not talking about that kind of job. I'm talking about a real job for a person with a disability that challenges that person to do everything better and to increase their participation and to develop more through training, their ability to take on more and more job responsibilities, even to the point of being presidents of companies or labor leaders, or being the most productive worker in a plant. So this to me is where we've got to go. We've got to do a better job of employment, because work is the defining feature of human existence. Work is so important for families. It's important for communities. It's important for nations, to make sure that people are actively employed and have work. Work is a place where we meet a lot of our friends, maybe even former partners, spouses, lifelong friendships. We meet at work. Well, if a person with a disability is shut out of that, then they really don't have a full life. They don't have full participation. They don't have equal opportunity. And chances are, without a job, they can't afford to live independently. So a job is really at the basis of full disability integration. And again, I stress a job that is a real job in competitive, integrated employment. So again, it's so important that we focus on that. And when I retired from the Senate, I started what is now called the Harkin International Disability Summits. We've now had 4. We had 2 in the United States. The last one in 2019 was in Paris, France. The next one, next year on June the 7th and 8th, the Harkin International Disability Summit will be in Belfast, Northern Ireland. And you are all invited to attend and to participate in this very important summit. Again, focusing on employment, mainly in the private sector, but also in NGOs and in government also. But basically, to make sure we open up the business sector, the private sector, for persons with disabilities. So the Harkin International Disability Summit, June 7th to the 8th, 2022, Belfast, Northern Ireland. Our theme is going to be disability, shaping, growing, and driving economic change. Now, what we mean by that is that we know enough now of seeing persons with disabilities operate within an economic structure that persons with disabilities can help shape the future of economic growth and equality of economic prosperity. It can also help us grow it because we have seen data that companies that employ persons with disabilities actually do better than other companies. And persons with disabilities can be a driving force in this whole economic change, so that the fruits of economic endeavor don't just go to a few people at the top, but are more evenly distributed throughout all of society. So again, we will provide a platform for individuals and organizations to challenge for change, to celebrate, share success stories, hold up what we think would be good practices, reframe the narrative on how we approach, support, and enable persons with disabilities to achieve their career goals and aspirations, and help, in fact, help the whole global economic change. So if you want to know more about the Harkin International Disability Summit, you can visit harkinsummit.org. All one word, harkinsummit.org. You can learn more about it. You can sign up there, receive updates on the event. And I hope to see so many of you in Belfast on June the 7th and 8th. When we were last in Paris in 2019, we had a tremendous turnout from the Mideast, from Africa, from Europe, even South America. And we look forward to the same kind of broad-based participation in Belfast on June the 7th and 8th. Again, thanks to all on this World Day of Persons with Disabilities. Again, thank our Commissioner of the Pavilion, Bob Clark, for letting us have this opportunity to present on this special day at the U.S. Pavilion.
Once again, the one and only Senator Harkin from Iowa in the United States of America. And find meaningful employment. Employment is one of the greatest things that, we call it sometimes the next frontier of the disability community. And I always go back to the underlying issue of employment and why aren't people with disabilities hired, retained, promoted in the workplace? What is the underlying issue because of that? And I think one of the things we often will find is that we have ableism or attitudinal barriers, as it might be called someplace else. We want to make sure that we are the ones that are progressing that conversation forward. So I've worked with a company called Canaries. It uses advanced technology and data to help companies solve complex problems of DEI. Think of the Uber or the Lyft companies that have impacted and disrupted the taxi market. Canaries is interrupting the workplace environment as well for an online type platform. So next we have, well, before we get that, remember the Harkin Summit is happening June 7th and 8th in Belfast, Ireland. I hope you get your tickets because I want to be there as well with all you fantastic leaders in the room.